Hello and welcome to this video on the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. and the conspiracy surrounding it. On April 4, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr., one of the most prominent civil rights leaders in American history, was shot and killed in Memphis, Tennessee. The assassination of King had a profound impact on the civil rights movement and the country as a whole, and it remains a controversial and highly debated event to this day. In this video, we will explore the events leading up to the assassination, the immediate aftermath, and the conspiracy theories that have emerged in the years since. We will examine the evidence, the key players involved, and the various theories that have been put forward to explain what happened on that fateful day in April 1968. So, let's begin by taking a closer look at the events leading up to the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. was in Memphis, Tennessee, in April 1968 to support striking sanitation workers, who were protesting low wages and poor working conditions. On the evening of April 4, King was standing on the balcony of his room at the Lorraine Motel when he was shot and killed by a single bullet. The assassin was later identified as James Earl Ray, a fugitive who had escaped from a Missouri prison the previous year. Ray was eventually captured and charged with the murder of King. He pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 99 years in prison. In addition to the suspicious location of the shooter, there were other inconsistencies and unanswered questions that contributed to the conspiracy theories. For example, some people questioned how Ray, who was a known petty criminal with no apparent ties to any extremist groups, could have carried out such a sophisticated and well-planned assassination on his own. Furthermore, the gun that was allegedly used to kill King was found in a bundle on the sidewalk near the boarding house where Ray had stayed. While Ray's fingerprints were found on the gun, there were no traces of his DNA, raising doubts about whether he had actually used the weapon to shoot King. Another factor that fueled the conspiracy theories was the fact that King had been the subject of government surveillance for years prior to his assassination. The FBI, led by Director J. Edgar Hoover, had a file on King and had conducted wiretaps and other forms of surveillance on him and his associates. Some conspiracy theorists believe that the FBI, or other government agencies, may have been involved in King's assassination as part of a broader effort to neutralize his influence on the civil rights movement. These theories are fueled by evidence of government misconduct and illegal surveillance, as well as the existence of programs like COINTELPRO, which were designed to disrupt and discredit political organizations and activists. Despite these unanswered questions and inconsistencies, the official narrative of King's assassination has remained largely unchanged for decades. Ray died in prison in 1998, maintaining his claim of innocence until the end. While some conspiracy theories have been debunked, many people remain convinced that there is more to the story than what has been officially acknowledged. However, almost immediately after the assassination, questions began to arise about the circumstances surrounding King's death. Many people were skeptical of the official version of events and suspected that there was more to the story than what the authorities were telling them. One of the key pieces of evidence that raised suspicion was the fact that the shot that killed King was fired from a boarding house across the street from the Lorraine Motel. This location was not consistent with Ray's position when the shot was fired, leading some to speculate that he may have been a part of a larger conspiracy. In the aftermath of the assassination, riots erupted in more than 100 cities across the country. President Lyndon B. Johnson declared a national day of mourning, and King's funeral was attended by thousands of mourners, including many prominent civil rights leaders. The government conspiracy theory is one of the most popular theories surrounding the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., and it has been the subject of numerous books and documentaries. The theory suggests that the U.S. government, particularly the FBI and CIA, played a role in King's death, either directly or indirectly. One of the most cited pieces of evidence is a memo written by FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover just a few weeks before King's assassination, in which he refers to King as a source of inspiration for the civil rights movement and a fraud, who is now feeling the pressure and frustration of his own failures. The memo also mentions the possibility of using neutralizing measures against King and other civil rights leaders. In addition to the memo, there are also other instances of government surveillance and harassment of King and his associates. For example, the FBI had wiretapped King's phone and bugged his hotel rooms, and they had even sent him an anonymous letter urging him to commit suicide. Many believe that these actions show a clear intent to harm King and his movement. Another example of government involvement is the program called COINTELPRO, which was established by the FBI in 1956 to disrupt and discredit political organizations and activists. The program targeted groups like the Black Panthers and the American Indian Movement, and it is believed that it also targeted the civil rights movement and King himself. The government conspiracy theory also suggests that the CIA may have played a role in King's assassination. The CIA had a program called Operation Chaos, which was established in the late 1960s to spy on American citizens involved in anti-war and civil rights movements. Some theorists believe that the CIA may have had a hand in King's assassination as part of this program. In terms of evidence, there is a letter from former CIA Director Richard Helms to the Warren Commission, which was investigating King's assassination, in which he states that neither the CIA nor any of its employees were involved in any way with the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. However, some people believe that this letter is merely a cover-up. One final piece of evidence that fuels the government conspiracy theory is the fact that James Earl Ray had a history of working as a paid informant for the FBI. Ray himself claimed that he had been set up by the government, and some believe that the FBI may have manipulated him into committing the assassination. In summary, the government conspiracy theory suggests that the U.S. government, particularly the FBI and CIA, may have played a role in Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination through surveillance, harassment, and manipulation of James Earl Ray. While there is no conclusive evidence to support this theory, the numerous instances of government surveillance and harassment of King and his associates have fueled suspicions and doubts about the official story of the assassination. The theory that the Mafia was involved in King's assassination has been a subject of speculation for many years. Some believe that Ray's connections to organized crime figures make it plausible that the Mafia was involved. One person who has spoken about this theory is former FBI agent William Turner, who wrote a book called The Assassination of Robert F. Kennedy, a searching look at the conspiracy and cover-up. Turner has said, "It is impossible for me to believe that James Earl Ray, a man with no experience in assassination, could have conceived, planned, and executed such a sophisticated and professional operation." Turner suggests that the Mafia may have hired Ray to carry out the assassination. Another person who has spoken about the Mafia conspiracy theory is former FBI agent Donald Wilson. In an interview with the Memphis Commercial Appeal, Wilson said that he believed the Mafia was involved in King's assassination. Wilson stated, "I think it was a combination of the Mafia and probably some local politicians who wanted King out of the way." One of the key pieces of evidence to support the Mafia conspiracy theory is the fact that Ray was seen in the company of known Mafia figures in the weeks leading up to King's assassination. One such figure was Raoul, a man who some believe was a CIA operative and who had connections to organized crime. In his book, The Man Who Knew Too Much, former CIA agent Richard Helms suggests that Raoul may have been involved in the assassination. Additionally, a former FBI agent named Wesley Swearingen has said that he believes the Mafia was involved in the assassination. In an interview with the Memphis Commercial Appeal, Swearingen stated, "I believe that the Mafia was responsible for King's death. They had the money, the power, and the connections to make it happen." Overall, while the Mafia conspiracy theory remains unproven, the connections between Ray and organized crime figures have fueled speculation that the Mafia may have played a role in King's assassination. The military-industrial complex conspiracy theory is a lesser-known but still persistent theory surrounding the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. Some proponents of this theory believe that powerful interests in the military-industrial complex were threatened by King's opposition to the Vietnam War and his calls for social justice. Here are some examples and quotes to support this theory. One of the key pieces of evidence that supporters of this theory point to is King's vocal opposition to the Vietnam War. In a speech at New York City's Riverside Church on April 4, 1967, King stated, "The greatest purveyor of violence in the world today is my own government. There is a need for all people of conscience to come together and say, 'No more war.'" This speech, which was seen as a turning point in King's activism, may have made him a target for those who supported the military-industrial complex. Some theorists also point to the fact that Ray had ties to right-wing groups that supported the military-industrial complex. For example, Ray was associated with the National States' Rights Party, a white supremacist organization that opposed civil rights and supported military spending. Some theorists believe that Ray may have been recruited by these groups to carry out the assassination. There is also evidence of government surveillance of anti-war activists and civil rights leaders around the time of King's assassination. The Church Committee, a Senate committee that investigated government surveillance activities in the 1970s, uncovered evidence that the FBI and other government agencies had engaged in illegal surveillance of King and other civil rights leaders. One of the most vocal proponents of the military-industrial complex conspiracy theory was journalist and author James Douglas. In his book, JFK and the Unspeakable: Why He Died and Why It Matters, Douglas argued that King was assassinated because he posed a threat to the military-industrial complex. Douglas stated, "King's call for a radical revolution of values was a mortal threat to the national security state." While there is no conclusive evidence to support the military-industrial complex conspiracy theory, it is worth noting that King's opposition to the Vietnam War and his calls for social justice did put him at odds with some powerful interests in American society. Whether or not these interests played a role in his assassination remains a matter of debate and speculation. Thank you for watching this video on the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. and the various conspiracy theories surrounding it. We hope that this video has provided you with valuable insights into this pivotal moment in American history. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more informative content like this. Also, feel free to leave a comment down below to share your thoughts or any feedback you may have. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.